Hey guys, this is Ray with SD Custom Footwear. Thanks for joining me. And as promised, I'm going to go through a step-by-step tutorial on how to make the Air Jordan 1 High using my new patterns. All right. So first of all, let's take a look at the patterns. So here's the Air Jordan 1 High 12 pattern, and let's check out the parts. I want to thank everybody for supporting me. It's been a crazy ride. I mean, I've started this thing about 5 years ago, and here we are doing instructional videos. Yeah, the support has been crazy. All the love and support from the community, from even from people that I compete with supposedly, but support's been awesome. Thank you guys. What I'm going to do first is separate the pieces. Backing pieces, uppers, backing. So yeah, as I was saying, starting your own business, I mean, it's crazy. I have no idea what I'm doing. If anybody tells you they know what they're doing, they're crazy. It's like, starting your own business. If you're starting your own business, if you have a startup, it's like being a parent. You have no idea what you're doing, but just go with your gut. And if you care about it, if you really care about your business, follow your gut, and you'll be fine. All right, so I'm separating all the pieces, uppers, backing. And you notice this is new from last year, the backing, or actually from a few months ago. I didn't add the backing before, but now I do, because I notice a lot of people are using exotics, and if you're using an exotic, it will stretch on you. They have a lot of movement, and if you back it with even a canvas or a thin thermoplastic, anything, a thin suede, even anything, it will make a big difference. So foams, I don't know what I do with my foams. This is a foam, this is a liner. All right, make sure you guys see everything. Upper, backing, liner, and backing. All right, so if you notice, what I did on all the pieces is I started adding these little numbers and letters on the edges, and you're probably wondering, what the hell is that? All these little numbers everywhere. Well, I did this to help beginners, people that are just starting off, not sure how to assemble it. This will give you a good guideline. When I started, I assembled it a bunch of different ways. There are really no wrong ways of doing it. Or right ways, actually. A few right ways, a lot of wrong ways, I should say. Okay, so what you're going to do first is look for the piece that has a number 1. This is step number 18, and the FL stands for flip. This stitch is going to be flipped, all right? That's what the FL stands for, and this is step number 18. And for example, here we have a butterfly stitch. This is step number 16, all right? And if you're not sure actually, I don't even know if it's called a butterfly stitch. I don't know the technical term, but you guys will know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like, you see it on basketballs where they stitch them together, then they butterfly them open, hammer it down, then sometimes you can even do another stitch, make it look fancy. I don't know what the technical term is, but we're gonna call it a butterfly stitch. What else do we have? We have an overlay. Overlay is pretty simple. The piece just gets laid over. So you see these match up. Overlay step number 6, overlay step number 6. These are going to match up. You're going to cover up that registration mark, lay it over that, and just stitch there. All right. I also we added these marks here so you guys can, just as a secondary guide. These notches line up perfectly. You know you're doing something right. Okay, that's an overlay. Let me see what other stitch we have. There's a couple here that kind of weird. I don't know what to call this stitch. When I do this part here, this is actually the very first step. BT1 and BT1. That's actually the very first step. I butt these up against each other. I put some reinforcement tape, stitch them together, and since I butt them up, I just put butt stitch BT1. All right. I don't know what the technical term is. You guys I know someone's gonna say something, but. All right, so that was all the stitching, the different stitches we have. Oh, okay, also one more thing. The foams will have a GL, that's glue. You can spray glue it, you can do whatever to attach your glue however you want, but that GL19 is step number 19. You're gonna glue this tongue to the other part of the tongue. You look for the other part that says GL19. All right, what other steps are there? I think that's it. Yep, we covered all the different stitches, and that is an overview of my new patterns, right? So let's get started. All right guys, so as I was saying, let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is cut our leathers, but since I have an expensive laser cutting machine at home, I just cut them with the laser machine, but I don't think you guys need help with that. You guys can figure it out. So the bad thing about this laser cutter, and I wouldn't use it for like a client because it leaves these burnt edges. So I'm just making a suede Chicago one, just kind of show you guys, but I did cut them all laser. Here are all the pieces. So for backing, I use this iron-on canvas. All right, I don't know where I got it. I brought a whole bunch from the factory in Mexico. But you can just as easily spray glue or put some cement on just normal canvas. You can get this stuff at any hobby store and glue it on the back. All right, so these are all my backing pieces already cut. These are my two foams and tongue and collar. If you notice, there is no more liner foam because it was getting too thick. People were having a hard time lasting it, especially around the heel, and it wasn't, you know. So if you do want to add a liner foam piece, just kind of copy this piece and just go from here down here and above the registration mark, connect that dot to this dot, that dot to this dot, and you have yourself a liner foam if you want that. Okay, so like I said, all my foams are here. Liners are gonna be all black. Those tongue liners, liners. All our liners are here, and our uppers. You see what I mean when you cut the edges with the laser? I can clean most of this off later. After I'm done, I'll go through, wipe most of this off, but it is a mess to work with. Collars, swooshes. All right, so a little bit about the patterns. I did add a bunch of little notches. This is a medial side. Okay, so in case you guys don't know, this little notch, I had some guys asking me, hold on, let me get some paper. So I had some guys asking me, what are all these little triangles and what do they all mean? Well, it's pretty simple. Let me show you guys. So this little notch here, you notice one of these quarter panels has it and one does not. So if a person is standing, sorry about my clown feet here, but this is a left foot, this is a right foot, right? And the person is facing this way. Okay? This is the center of the body. We'll draw a line down the middle, and whatever's closest to the center is medial. Okay, so this will have a notch here, and on the right foot, it'll be down the opposite side. So whatever's closest to the outside, that is lateral. Okay, so people is like, you know, ask me, is that the left foot or the right foot? I'm like, well, it's both. If you flip it, it's the other foot. So look for that notch that is closer to the middle, medial. Okay, there's your anatomy lesson. Now, all these other marks, let me mark it just, sorry. And these are heat erasing pens, by the way, which you can get on any website, like Amazon or one of those hobby stores or fabric stores. They sell heat erasing pens. So you notice the this part here, you can either mark it on this side or on this side, but I only want to mark the side without the triangle. That's the side that's going to be the finished edge, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. But for now, let's just mark, this one here is just a straight line. Let's just mark all the lines opposite side of the triangle. And when you're cutting, well, obviously the laser cut off these little triangles here. See these little triangles? The laser cut them off. But for example, if you were marking, you would want to mark that little line there, so that when you cut it, you'll have a little, I don't know if you can see there. When you cut this line, you're going to be left with the little tiny blue dot right there. I don't know if you guys can see. Obviously the laser cut those off here, but those, you do not cut those. Don't cut these little triangles here, but do mark them, so that when you're done, it'll just look like a little blue dot. And that would be very important for later. I'll show you why. Okay, so we mark this one. We get the other medial side. All right, so medial. Just grab it, flip it over, mark it again. Fernando, this is where you fast forward. Now let's go with the lateral side. All right, so obviously the lateral side does not have the notch. That's how you know it's a lateral. Oh, here's a different stitch type, DC. And this is the third step. DC is a decorative stitch. All right, it's just a straight stitch. It's just for aesthetics, optional, I guess. Everything is optional. I'm just teaching you guys all the rules here. Once you know all the rules, you can mess with your patterns, change your shoes, do whatever you want. But let's learn the basics first, learn the rules, and then you can start modifying it. One other thing, when you guys are cutting leather, and I tell students in my class, when you're cutting leather, every leather is it has a natural stretch. It stretches more one way than the other. See, for example, this one will stretch more vertically, and that's what we want. So if the shoe is this way, we want it to stretch more this way and be tighter vertically, because when you're lasting it, we want that to be the strongest side. So when you're cutting your leather, pay attention to which way it stretches more. There's always going to have one, and you want that to be the vertical side that stretches less. All right. So watch my hands move very fast while we fast forward through me marking all these. Okay, so I like to, once I'm done with the piece, I like to just kind of put them aside. I'm done with this piece. Done with my quarter panels. I will put them aside or put them back in the envelope. These are done, these are done. These do not need, yes, they do need to be marked, so let's look for that. There we go. Again, my hands are gonna move fast. Ready? There is no medial or lateral side with these. If you don't see a notch usually at the bottom, that means there is no medial side, so don't worry about that. They're all the same. It's a good habit to always, when you're cutting your patterns, do one this way and then flip it and do the other. All right, it's just a good habit, even if there is no medial side. So we're done with that. Now let's mark these. Alright guys, so I am by no means an expert in this. I've only been doing this for about 5 years, but I did grow up around a lot of sewing machines. My mom was a seamstress, so I know my way around a sewing machine, but like I said, I am by no means an expert. And here's an example. I did 2 left feet there, so flip it around and mark there. Okay. So I've always kind of known my way around sewing machines, but I got into shoe customizing and I really liked it. I've never been much of a sneakerhead, I guess. When in my 20s I was, but I got into it more because I loved teaching. When I started teaching, it was a really good experience, and fell in love with it, and I like seeing my students and everybody succeed. And I mean, it really makes me happy seeing my students succeed. If they don't succeed, then I don't succeed. If they, you know, their success is my success, is what I should say. With this red suede that I found. That's done, that's done. Now this part here, don't cut these notches out. Let me see. Don't cut these little corners out here. You don't need to cut those. All right, those are just for example, if you were to mark this, and then when you cut it right here, you'll be left with those two little dots, and that's what that's for. All right. I want to give a shout out to my son Fernando for helping with this. Making this YouTube thing possible, because I do not have time to edit all these videos and learn another thing. I've been learning a lot. Every step I take, it seems like I have to learn something new. I visited a bunch of factories, different factories. I saw different construction methods. I learned with different people, and I never really planned on selling patterns, but I bought a laser machine because I wanted to cut patterns for my students in my class, and then they just started asking for more patterns, so I bought a bigger laser machine, and that had some weird proprietary Chinese software, so I had to learn how to program a laser, and I had to change the motherboard and change the firmware, and it's like every step I'm just learning stuff. It goes back to what I said, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we learn. I think this pen is almost out. Still haven't found a really good white pen. So they come in these packs. If you buy them on Amazon, there's like white, black, red, and blue. Still haven't found a good white pen, which comes in handy. The dark colors, obviously. Okay, we're done with that. We're done with that. And here we go, white pen. Speaking of, these don't need anything. So these, let's try out a white pen. If it doesn't work, I'll use silver, but I don't like using silver, especially on suede. It's hard to get off. So let's see how this white pen does. Sometimes you just gotta smack it around and let the ink drop. Nope. Okay, plan B. These little marks are also new. They stick out a little bit so that when you're doing this part, these wings here, you see that little bit is going to stick out, and it's going to tell you where to stop stitching. When you do this stitch here, it'll tell you where to stop stitching. A lot of people just kind of guess. All right, that's it for part 1 of our video. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you guys were able to follow along with your patterns, and stay tuned for part 2.